Okay, I think we're live. Try to give a countdown of 10. Man, I'm starting to look like Yukon Cornelius here. I'm trying to go the whole winter without shaving. I saw a comment, a portion of a comment about uh, what happens if I was in this faith and then I found out that a bunch of nonsense was going on. And, one psychological barrier is an awareness of all the sacrifices I made. What what happens to all of that? Um, so let's start with an example. What happened to Paul? What happened to Paul when he found out that his Pharisee zeal was misdirected? He was a younger guy and he was going at it, uh, persecuting Christians. He held the clothing of those who stoned Stephen, and he was just going from town to town chasing down Christians. So what's the deal with that? Well, what happened to Paul when he converted to Jesus? What happened to his training as a Pharisee at the feet of a rabbi, a well-respected rabbi? What happened to his knowledge of Greek? What happened to his oratorical capabilities? What happened to his zeal? So in physics, when you have an object in motion, it tends to stay in motion. In faith, you can make right angles and not lose any momentum. So we tend to think of momentum in life as this thing that can only be curved. And if you were to make a right angle, you'd lose something or you have to hit a wall and come to a complete stop before you can turn, like a giant train. Faith is not like that. And sacrifices done in sincerity to God, they are never lost. They're never lost. And God can take that. Anything you've put into your life, He can take it and redeem it. He can take it and He can point it more directly towards what has greater value. Paul absolutely drew on all of his experience as a Pharisee after he converted to a more full version of truth. He used his knowledge of languages. He even used his ability to make tents, right? By profession, he's a tent maker. He used all of those things in a different context. So let's say that you're part of a church for your whole life and you're doing all these things that you really think are what you need to do. And then you find out that not only is there something lacking, but you probably had a part in some shifty things that now you feel kind of guilty about. Well, the guilt will be resolved through your honest recognition of the problems and your earnest effort to help other people to see the same. And that's sort of a different issue, but let's say that you're doing that. The question is, what becomes of everything in my life until now? Was that all a waste? Absolutely, positively, 100% no. No. In fact, this is going to sound crazy. You're not even at a disadvantage. It may be the case, and it is the case, is to the degree that you did all of it sincerely. If you really followed your conscience the whole time and you truly did your best, 100% of that will carry over to this new situation. It's an amazing thing. The only thing that I can think of in temporal life that's like it is if you serve in the military and you come out of that and get a job with the post office or police force, or there are various organizations that'll do this, they will give you credit for retirement in their system as if you had spent that time there. I think in some cases they might even give you rank. I don't know about that. But that is the case. Like if you do Boy Scouts and you're an Eagle Scout and then you join the Army, I think it's been a while, but I think they make you a specialist right off the bat. You get boosted up 4 ranks. You're an E4. So that's really significant. And they recognize that experience and they say, oh, we have a place for that. In God's house, there's a place for everything. Everything that's good has a place there. You say, but yeah, well, wait a second. Like, what if, I don't know, just using archetypal evil, right? What everybody thinks of. What if I was in the Nazi army and I worked my way up? I did terrible things there. And then I found out about Jesus. And I immediately changed the course of my life. But what could Jesus do with that? You know, a lot of times we ask the question, what would Jesus do? And that's a good question. That's a question everybody should ask more often. But maybe it's a good question to ask sometimes, what would Jesus do with? What can Jesus do with me and you? And you say, but I am messed up. You know, I'm old, I'm broken, I'm addicted. I've done terrible things. You see the light of the Lord. It's like a dark room where your life until that point is like a dark room. You see your history, all the places you've been, all the people you knew, everything you've ever done. The light turns on. You see all these things that were there that you didn't see. And you see shadows all over the place that you didn't see. And you say, man, I wish I could do that again. I'd do it totally different. And the question is, what can he do with you? It's a wonderful question to ask. Do you know why? Because he's not going to come and say, you know, they're there, magic wand, it all goes away. He will show you his glory by taking that and throwing it into him and bringing something out that's so much better than anything you could imagine. He does it every single time. If you believe, he will do it. If you believe, he will do it. So never, ever, ever fear putative truth, putative benefit, meaning it might be something better, but I'm not even going down the road to think about it because I'm afraid of what it might mean about who I have been until now and what I have done until now. Now, if you want an example of this, there's a wonderful example of this that I can think of. What's this gentleman's name? Hold on, I got to pull it up. There's a gentleman out there. His name is Afshin Javid. Afshin Javid. This guy came across my radar recently thanks to a viewer and friend. I don't know this man, and I cannot attest to every corner of his life. So if he turns out to be some insane clown serial killer, you know, don't come back to me and say, therefore. But the few videos I've seen of him caused me to feel deep love for this man. Because he talks again and again about zeal in obedience to God and about consummate service to everyone, even your enemies. And again, I don't know this man personally, but he seems absolutely sincere. And to be able to say those things sincerely, it means a lot. Where did this guy come from? Well, he met the Lord in a prison in Malaysia. And his whole life until then had been as a zealous Muslim. He was actually in Hezbollah. He's from Iran. And he was like the Muslim Saul, I guess. He was that zealous. And the Lord snatched him and just pointed him in another direction. He said, "Don't slow down. Don't slow down. But just let me turn you a little bit. And you go that way now." That's what God can do with your prior sacrifice. You retain all the momentum, but he'll turn you as much as he needs to get you closer to the truth. It could be a 180 and you won't slow down. My wife tells this hilarious story about this little dog she used to have. And he wasn't allowed up on her mother's bed. She was living at home at the time. And one time her mom was taking a nap and the dog didn't, but the dog would always run and jump and sleep on her bed when she wasn't home. The dog thought she wasn't home, but my mother-in-law was sleeping on the bed. And so the dog runs full speed, this little fluff ball, and in midair notices that my mother-in-law was in the bed and somehow violated the laws of physics and did a 180 and completely retaining the momentum went the other way without touching anything. And that's what God can do with you. And even more than 180ing you with full conservation of momentum, anything God touches is better. Anything God touches becomes better. And not by a little. Not by a little. So do not ever be afraid of what could be greater truth. Do you need to be diligent in applying all the things you learn about evaluating truth? Yeah, absolutely. It's a dangerous game, folks. But all risk carries danger. The equal and opposite is potential, benefit, opportunity. So be careful, but never be afraid. Never be afraid. Because if it ends up being true, it will be worth it. Everything that is true is also worthwhile. It's funny, those things go together. So anyway, these are thoughts, and it's probably longer than it needs to be. But don't ever be afraid of putative truth or improvement for the reason that you fear that whatever changes might come of it cause you to lose something. There is no loss. There is no loss in the Lord, ever, ever. There's only better. If you ever feel like something is being taken away from you in the path of the Lord, it's just because you don't see the outcome yet. And the best outcomes, they kind of have to be the most hidden for reasons I can't get into right now, but that's the whole point of the trust that we have in him. It's that there are outcomes that can't come in any other way. There is no loss in the Lord. There's only gain. I hope this is helpful. Stay well.